Beneath the waves lie entire cities that history forgot. These submerged ruins are silent time capsules, holding secrets of civilizations lost to time. In this journey, you will discover 20 underwater sites that rewrite the chapters of human history, revealing stories of ingenuity and catastrophic change. How could a bustling Egyptian port vanish for a millennium only to be found with its colossal statues still standing? What does a mysterious underwater pyramid in Japan tell us about civilizations that existed when sea levels were far lower? By the end, you will see our past and our future in a completely new light. What forgotten story hidden under the sea most captures your imagination? The seabed off the Egyptian coast yielded a secret thought lost to legend. For over 1,000 years, the city of Thonis-Heracleion existed only in ancient texts, a mythical gateway to Egypt that many scholars believed was pure fiction. That all changed when underwater explorer Frank Gaudio and his team, after years of meticulous search, began to uncover its staggering reality. Emerging from the silt were colossal statues of pharaohs, standing over 15 meters tall, their silent gaze a direct link to a forgotten world. They found the crumbled stones of a vast temple complex and the haunting shells of 64 ancient ships, still resting in the harbor where they once docked. This was not just any city, it was the mandatory port of entry for all Greek trade, a bustling cosmopolitan hub where two great civilizations met and merged. The discovery of inscribed stone slabs, known as stelae, provided a tangible record of this exchange, detailing the religious decrees and trade laws that governed this dynamic interface. Thonis-Heracleion rewrites history by proving the depth of the connection between ancient Egypt and Greece, a place of intense cultural and economic fusion. Its demise is attributed to a natural disaster, most likely a major earthquake that caused the unstable clay soil beneath the city to liquefy, swallowing the entire metropolis and its legacy. It makes you wonder what other legendary gateways to lost worlds are currently hidden, just waiting for the shifting sands of time to reveal their stories. Far to the east, another underwater mystery challenges the very foundations of our history. Lying off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island is a colossal stone structure that seems to defy simple explanation. Discovered by a local diver in the 1980s, the Yonaguni Monument is a sprawling complex of immense platforms, sharp terraces, and stunningly straight steps that descend into the deep blue. For decades, it has been the center of a passionate debate, a geological puzzle that some believe is actually an archaeological treasure. Professor Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist who has spent years studying the site, argues that these are not random shapes. He points to the perfect right angles, the parallel channels that look like walkways, and even a formation that strikingly resembles a carved human face. His conclusion is that this is the work of a sophisticated society, a monument constructed perhaps 10,000 years ago, when this area was dry land during the last ice age. If he is correct, it would mean a chapter of human achievement was swallowed by the sea, rewriting the story of civilization in the Pacific. Yet, skeptics offer a different view. They propose that the relentless power of seismic activity, a common force in this region, combined with the sculpting hand of ocean currents, could have naturally fractured the sandstone into these deceptively architectural forms. The mystery of Yonaguni forces us to look more carefully at the line between a natural wonder and a human creation. It invites us to question if we are seeing the world's most convincing coincidence, or the silent, submerged ruins of a culture advanced enough to shape stone on a grand scale, only to be forgotten when the waters rose. What other ancient footsteps, now hidden beneath the waves, are we mistaking for the hand of nature? But the story of sunken cities is not confined to myth or geological debate. Off the coast of southern Laconia in Greece, the world's oldest known submerged city rests in the shallow, clear waters. Pavlopetri is a name that echoes with an incredible antiquity, a settlement dating back at least 5,000 years to the Bronze Age. What makes this site so breathtaking to archaeologists is not just its age, but its completeness. Here, preserved on the seafloor, is an almost entire urban plan. You can follow the layout of streets as they were walked millennia ago, trace the outlines of buildings, courtyards, and tombs. This is not a collection of scattered artifacts. It is a ghost city, its blueprint frozen in time. Discovered in 1967 by oceanographer Nicholas Fleming, the site's true significance was unlocked through meticulous mapping by the University of Nottingham. Their work revealed the portrait of a sophisticated and thriving port city, a hub that traded across the entire Mediterranean. The discovery of pottery from the distant island of Crete confirms its wide-reaching connections, a testament to a maritime economy that was surprisingly global for its time. The very design of the buildings and the organization of the public spaces offer profound clues about how this prehistoric Aegean society was structured, how people lived, worked, and interacted with the wider world. The submergence of Pavlopetri is believed to stem from a combination of earthquakes and the slow, inexorable rise of sea levels. Its silent streets encapsulate the profound vulnerability of coastal settlements, a lesson from 5,000 years ago that resonates with urgent clarity in our own era of climate change. To explore Pavlopetri is to read a street map from the very dawn of civilization, a direct connection to our collective past. It forces a powerful question: what will the coastal cities of our modern world leave behind for future generations to discover, and what will our ruins say about us? On the western coast of India, the waters of the Gulf of Cambay conceal a city that many believed existed only in sacred verse. This is Dwarka, the legendary kingdom of the deity Krishna, described in the ancient Mahabharata as a glorious and prosperous city that vanished beneath the waves. For centuries, these stories were considered powerful mythology, a spiritual allegory rather than a historical account. Then marine archaeologists began to bring up evidence from the seabed. They found the outlines of stone structures, scattered pottery, and a trove of artifacts. Scientific dating placed these remains to around 1500 before the Common Era, a time frame that aligns remarkably with the traditional dates for the legendary city. Perhaps the most compelling clue was the discovery of a large number of stone anchors, indicating this was once a major and bustling port, exactly as the text described. These physical findings do not prove the divine stories, but they provide a tangible, historical anchor for the epic. They suggest that a great and powerful coastal city did exist here, a city whose fate was so dramatic it became permanently etched into cultural memory. The submergence of Dwarka is often linked to a massive, sudden event, likely a powerful shift in the earth or a tremendous rise in sea level, a real-world catastrophe that was woven into legend over generations. This site stands as a profound meeting point of faith and science, where ancient hymns and modern archaeology converge. It demonstrates how oral traditions can carry the echo of geological truths across thousands of years, preserving the memory of a lost homeland. This exploration of a city claimed by the sea leads us to another, one preserved not by water, but by a different, equally sudden force. While the ruins of Pavlopetri offer a silent, gradual story of submergence, the city of Port Royal presents history written in a single, violent day. This Jamaican port was once infamous across the Atlantic as the wickedest city on earth, a bustling pirate haven where wealth and vice flowed as freely as the Caribbean rum. Its reign of notoriety ended with shocking suddenness on the 7th of June, 1692. A massive earthquake struck, liquefying the sandy ground the city was built upon. In mere minutes, whole streets and buildings slid into the sea, followed by a devastating tsunami that sealed the city's fate. Two-thirds of Port Royal simply vanished beneath the waves, creating an underwater time capsule of unparalleled preservation. For archaeologists, this sunken city is a gift of catastrophic instantaneity. Excavations have uncovered entire brick buildings still standing, cobbled streets you can walk, and a stunning collection of everyday objects frozen in a moment. They have recovered pewter plates from a tavern table, delicate glassware, and clay pipes, each item telling a personal story of the merchants, pirates, and ordinary people who lived there. These are not just artifacts, they are interrupted lives. Historical accounts from survivors detail the sheer terror of that day, describing how the earth opened and the sea rushed in, adding a profound human dimension to the physical remains. Port Royal serves as a stark lesson on the fragility of any society, especially one built on a foundation of exploitation and excess. Its ruins whisper a timeless warning about the impermanence of human ambition in the face of nature's immense power. This story of a city judged and swallowed by the sea leads us to another, one lost not to a single cataclysm but to the slow, patient work of a rising river. Far from the ocean's salt, the quiet waters of a Wisconsin lake hold a secret that has puzzled explorers for generations. Beneath the surface of Rock Lake lie immense stone structures, their geometric forms a stark contrast to the natural lakebed. Early divers in the 20th century were the first to report these astonishing finds, describing massive, pyramid-like shapes and long, linear walls resting in the murky depths. Modern sonar mapping has only deepened the mystery, confirming the presence of several large, angular formations that seem deliberately arranged. Could these be the sunken pyramids of a forgotten North American civilization? Some researchers point to the nearby Mississippian culture, the people who built the great city of Cahokia, as potential builders. They suggest these could be ceremonial platforms or effigy mounds, constructed on dry land during a period of lower water levels and later submerged. The lake's cold, fresh water offers a unique promise of preservation, potentially safeguarding organic materials like wood or plant fibers that could one day reveal the builder's identity. Yet, a more cautious explanation also exists. Skeptics propose that these could be natural glacial deposits, the remnants of ancient ice sheets that left behind strangely shaped mounds of rock and debris. Another possibility is that they are simply later structures, perhaps fish weirs or foundations built by historic settlers. The true origin of the Rock Lake formations remains an open question, an enigma lying in America's own heartland. Their very presence challenges us to reconsider the depth and complexity of pre-Columbian history, suggesting that lost chapters of human achievement might be hidden not in distant seas, but in the lakes we swim in today. This mystery of inland waters leads our journey to a site where the spiritual and the physical worlds dramatically converge. High in the Colombian Andes, a lake shaped like a perfect circle holds a legend of gold and a quieter, deeper secret. Lake Guatavita is famously linked to the myth of El Dorado, where a Muisca leader covered in gold dust would make offerings from a raft in the center. Yet the true treasure may not be in the lake's golden heart, but along its submerged shores where the remains of villages rest beneath the water. The Muisca were a sophisticated civilization, master goldworkers who saw this lake as the spiritual center of their world. Their settlements around its perimeter were likely claimed by the water over time, either through natural shifts or by the desperate efforts of Spanish conquistadors who repeatedly tried to drain the lake in their frantic search for wealth. While their attempts yielded only a few golden artifacts, they irrevocably altered the landscape and may have hastened the submergence of these communities. This creates a profound opportunity for modern archaeology. The potential ruins on the lakebed are not ceremonial offerings, but the foundations of everyday life. They could reveal the actual homes, tools, and social structures of the Muisca people, information that is scarce compared to the grander ritual narratives. Exploring this site, however, requires a delicate balance. For the descendants of the Muisca, Lake Guatavita remains a profoundly sacred place. Any investigation must be guided by respect and collaboration, prioritizing cultural preservation over mere discovery. The story here is one of layered loss, the erosion of a culture first by greed and then by water. It reminds us that the most valuable finds are not always golden, but are the echoes of a people's way of life, preserved in the very landscape they held holy. This reflection on a sacred lake leads us to a site where water claimed not just a village, but the naval might of an entire empire. While the pirate dens of Port Royal were lost in an instant, the Roman resort of Baiae slipped beneath the waves with a slow, almost deliberate grace. Off the coast of modern Naples, this sunken city was the ultimate playground for the Roman elite, a place of legendary luxury and political intrigue where emperors like Nero and Caesar built sprawling villas. Today, its ruins rest in the shallow bay, a stunning underwater museum where divers can float over intricate mosaic floors and past the ghostly white forms of marble statues. The grand bathhouses and the complex known as the Nymphaeum, with its sculptures of mythical figures still remarkably preserved, offer a direct glimpse into the opulent leisure of ancient Rome's most powerful citizens. The force that claimed Baiae was not a sudden earthquake, but a phenomenon known as Bradaism, the slow, breathing-like rise and fall of the land driven by the volcanic activity of the Campi Flegrei region. Over centuries, this gradual subsidence allowed the sea to patiently reclaim the city, providing a completely different model of how a civilization can be lost. There was no single day of catastrophe, only a slow retreat in the face of an unstoppable geological force. This creates an archaeological site of unparalleled atmosphere, where the streets and structures remain so intact you can almost hear the echoes of ancient conversations. Baiae stands as a powerful reminder that even the greatest centers of human power and pleasure are subject to the patient, shifting foundations of the earth itself. Its silent, submerged opulence makes you wonder, what other centers of modern luxury and power are slowly, imperceptibly, being shaped by forces we cannot immediately see? The ruins of Olous rest in waters so clear you can trace the ancient city walls without ever leaving the surface. On the island of Crete, the independent city-state of Olous was once a formidable economic power, minting its own coins and forging treaties with powerful neighbors like Rhodes. Now its story is written on the seafloor of Elaunda Bay. Snorkelers glide over the sunken foundations, and the most poignant relic is a sprawling mosaic floor, a beautiful patterned remnant from an early Christian basilica that speaks to the city's long life, stretching from its classical peak well into the Byzantine era. This was not a city suddenly erased, but one gradually claimed by the earth itself. Local seismic activity caused the land to slowly sink, allowing the turquoise waters to patiently reclaim the streets and structures. Olous offers a uniquely democratic form of time travel, where the boundary between the present and the past is merely a thin layer of water. Its accessible ruins chart a continuous narrative of political autonomy, commercial wealth, and spiritual change across 1,000 years. The very ease of witnessing this sunken city makes you wonder how many other prosperous ports experienced a similar, slow descent, their histories now lying in plain sight just off the world's coastlines. Off the coast of Israel, a village sleeps beneath the waves that is older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge. Atlit Yam is a time capsule from a world 8,000 years in the past, a Neolithic settlement that offers a breathtakingly intimate portrait of some of the earliest farmers and fishers. Discovered in 1984, this is not a city of emperors or pirates, but a community of families who built stone houses and dug deep wells with their own hands. The most haunting discovery was a ceremonial stone circle, its central stones arranged with clear intention, suggesting a shared spiritual life. But the site also holds more personal stories, found in the resting places of the villagers themselves. Analysis of their remains has revealed some of the earliest known evidence of tuberculosis, providing a silent record of the health challenges these early people faced. This evidence helps researchers understand how illness traveled with humanity as we transitioned into settled agricultural life. Perhaps the most poignant feature of Atlit Yam is its stone-built water wells, now resting far below sea level. These structures are a powerful testament to human ingenuity in the face of environmental stress, showing a community actively managing its freshwater supply in a time of increasing scarcity. The village was not lost to a sudden cataclysm, but to the slow, inexorable rise of the sea as glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age. This was not a quick end, but a gradual forcing of hands, a community that ultimately had to gather its belongings and move to higher ground, leaving their home to the ocean. Atlit Yam stands as a profound lesson, reminding us that climate-induced migration is a story as old as settled human civilization itself. This narrative of a slow environmental transition leads us to consider a site shaped by a far more violent and immediate geological event. The legendary Queen Cleopatra's world did not vanish, it simply sank. In the clear waters of Alexandria's eastern harbor, the very heart of her power now lies silent. This was the royal quarter, the bustling center of the Ptolemaic kingdom, a place of immense political intrigue and lavish spectacle. For centuries, its location was a mystery, lost after a series of devastating earthquakes and tsunamis in the 4th century sent the land crumbling into the Mediterranean. The pioneering underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio and his team have painstakingly mapped this submerged district, revealing a landscape fit for a pharaoh. From the silt, they raised colossal statues of gods and pharaohs, silent sphinxes, and the broken columns of grand palaces, each find whispering of the Hellenistic opulence that defined Cleopatra's court. The discovery of a temple to the goddess Isis near the main palace complex is particularly telling, as it physically anchors the queen's famous portrayal of herself as the living incarnation of the deity, a masterful piece of political and spiritual theater. These ruins are the actual stage for one of history's most dramatic stories, the very place where Cleopatra and Mark Antony forged their alliance and met their fate. Ironically, the same cataclysm that destroyed this quarter also preserved it, sealing these priceless artifacts from looters and later urban development, creating a pristine underwater museum. To swim through these ruins is to glide through the pages of history itself, where the lines between political power, personal passion, and divine myth blur on the seafloor. This exploration of a queen's sunken realm naturally guides us toward another legendary female ruler, whose own story is etched into the stones of a different sunken city. The slow, patient hunger of the sea is a story written in the lost streets of Dunwich. Once a bustling medieval port rivaling London in its importance, this English town was a center of trade, religion, and naval power, home to thousands and crowned with grand churches and monasteries. Its demise was not a single cataclysm but a centuries-long retreat in the face of relentless coastal storms. A series of tremendous tempests in the 13th and 14th centuries, particularly the Great Storm of 1286, began clawing at the soft clay cliffs upon which Dunwich was built. Whole neighborhoods, friaries, and churches crumbled into the North Sea over generations, a slow-motion disaster that forced its people to abandon their homes block by block. Today, the modern village is a tiny echo of its former self, while the old town lies submerged just offshore. Divers exploring the site find the ghostly outlines of foundations and the skeletal remains of streets, while sophisticated sonar mapping has charted the full, sprawling grid of the lost settlement, confirming the scale of the tragedy. Recovered artifacts from everyday pottery to finely worked building stone paint a portrait of a prosperous and devout community that simply could not win its battle against the waves. Local folklore adds a haunting layer to this history, with tales that during a storm you can still hear the bells of the sunken churches ringing from beneath the water. The story of Dunwich is a powerful, sobering lesson in the long-term impact of environmental change. It stands as a direct and poignant precedent for our own era, where modern coastal communities worldwide now face the same patient, rising threat. It makes you wonder which of today's great coastal cities might one day exist only in sonar maps and local legend. This narrative of a kingdom lost piece by piece stands in stark contrast to our next destination, a city that met its end not over centuries but in a single, terrifying night. While many ancient cities were lost to natural forces, one of China's greatest treasures was sacrificed by human hands. The magnificent lion city, Shicheng, was not claimed by an earthquake or rising seas, but deliberately submerged beneath the fresh waters of Kaindy Lake in 1959 to power a new hydroelectric dam. This was a conscious exchange, trading a piece of the past for the promise of a modern future. Founded during the Eastern Han Dynasty nearly 2,000 years ago, the city was a masterpiece of imperial Chinese architecture, its stonework adorned with intricate carvings of dragons, phoenixes, and guardian lions that symbolized power and prosperity. For decades, the city lay forgotten in its silent, deep blue tomb, until divers rediscovered a world frozen in perfect preservation. The lake's cold, pure fresh water acted as a perfect natural conservator, protecting the wooden structures and delicate stone reliefs from the erosion that would have worn them away on the surface. Today, explorers drift through grand archways and over the roofs of temples and memorial arches, their ornate details as sharp as the day the waters rose. Shicheng offers archaeologists an unprecedented window into classical Chinese urban planning, a complete cityscape captured without centuries of modification and decay. Its silent, submerged grandeur presents a profound and complex legacy, a reminder of the difficult choices between preserving heritage and pursuing progress. What does it mean that one of our best-preserved historical sites exists only because we chose to drown it? This story of intentional loss leads us to a city that met a far more chaotic and fiery end. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, a city of stone rises from the water, a labyrinth of canals and shattered walls known as Madol. While its primary structures stand on a network of artificial islets, the true scale of this ceremonial capital becomes clear when you look beneath the surface. The complex extends into the surrounding mangrove swamps and shallow waters, where sunken basalt pillars and foundations suggest a much larger, partially submerged city. Constructed entirely on a coral reef, this Venice of the Pacific was the spiritual and political heart of the Sordelor dynasty, a place of immense power that was mysteriously abandoned centuries ago. The very existence of Madol is a profound puzzle. How did its builders, without metal tools or pulleys, transport colossal stone logs weighing up to 50 tons across the island and then assemble them into towering walls over water? Local oral history speaks of two powerful magicians who used levitation to move the stones, a poetic explanation for a feat that seems to defy logic. Archaeologists suggest a more grounded, yet equally impressive, reality involving vast communal labor, ingenious engineering, and log rollers to navigate the difficult terrain. The submergence of its outer sections is a slow-motion story of environmental change, where the gradual rise in sea level combined with the natural sinking of the coral foundation upon which the city was precariously built. Madol stands as a monumental rebuttal to outdated notions of isolated Pacific societies. It showcases a level of social organization, architectural ambition, and political centralization that rivals contemporary kingdoms elsewhere in the world. This enigmatic city, half on land and half in the sea, compels us to ask what other sophisticated cultures flourished across the Pacific, their histories now lying just below the waves, waiting to reshape our understanding of human civilization. The clear, shallow waters off Bimini conceal a pathway that seems to lead nowhere. Discovered in 1968, the Bimini Road is a stunningly straight formation of massive, rectangular limestone blocks that runs for more than half a mile along the seafloor. Their uniform shape and deliberate-looking arrangement immediately sparked a firestorm of speculation, with many enthusiasts proclaiming this was a road, a wall, or even a dock built by the legendary civilization of Atlantis. The site's location within the infamous Bermuda Triangle only amplified its air of modern mystery, suggesting a connection to unexplained phenomena. For geologists, however, the explanation is far more terrestrial. They identify the blocks as a perfectly natural example of beach rock, a type of shoreline sediment that, over thousands of years, can fracture along natural plains into remarkably geometric shapes. The relentless forces of tides and weather can then arrange these blocks into deceptively orderly rows. Yet, even with this compelling natural explanation, questions persist. Some researchers point to the block's precise alignment and what appear to be potential tool marks, arguing that nature alone seems an unlikely architect for such a structured design. If these features were proven to be artificial, the Bimini Road could represent the remains of a sophisticated harbor or a ceremonial causeway constructed by a seafaring culture completely absent from our history books. Modern investigations are now employing advanced technologies like sub-bottom profiling to peer beneath the seafloor, searching for evidence of post holes or other human modifications that could settle the debate. The Bimini Road stands as a powerful symbol of a fundamental challenge in underwater exploration, forcing us to constantly question what we see. It reminds us that the boundary between a breathtaking natural wonder and a profound archaeological discovery can be as thin as the line between sea and sky. A forest frozen in time rises from the turquoise depths of Lake Kaindy. This is not a city of stone, but a landscape preserved in a single, violent moment. In 1911, a tremendous earthquake triggered a colossal limestone landslide in the Tian Shan Mountains, which tumbled down and dammed a river valley. The newly formed lake slowly filled, submerging a thriving forest of shrank spruce trees under its frigid water. The result is a scene of haunting beauty, where the skeletal trunks of the trees pierce the surface like the masts of a phantom fleet, their branches now hosting schools of fish instead of birds. The lake's intensely cold water has acted as a natural preservative, preventing the wood from rotting and leaving the forest eerily intact for over a century. While this site does not hold the ruins of a human civilization, it tells a powerful story of planetary history. It is a stark monument to the immediate and transformative power of geological forces, a reminder that the ground beneath our feet is anything but permanent. The resilience of life is also on full display, as a new ecosystem has flourished around the sunken trees, weaving new life into the fabric of the old. This sunken forest shifts our perspective from human endeavors to the vast, dynamic timeline of the Earth itself, a narrative written not in artifacts, but in stone, water, and wood. It prepares us for a discovery where the line between human history and deep geological time becomes beautifully and mysteriously blurred. Deeper than any sunken city, the flooded caves of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula descend into a world of both geological wonder and ancient belief. These are the cenotes, natural portals formed in limestone where the earth has opened to reveal hidden waterways. For the Maya civilization, these were not just sources of fresh water but sacred gateways to Xibalba, the feared and revered underworld. At the legendary sacred cenote of Chichén Itzá, archaeologists have recovered a wealth of offerings cast into its depths to appease the rain god Chak. Exquisite items of gold and jade were found alongside more personal ceremonial items, telling a story of a people communicating with the gods through their most valued possessions. The preservation within these freshwater caves is nothing short of miraculous. Wooden artifacts, textiles, and other organic materials that would have vanished elsewhere have survived for thousands of years in the stable, cool waters, offering a far more complete picture of Maya life. But the story these cenotes tell is even older than the Maya. Explorations of the vast, labyrinthine cave systems are now uncovering evidence of early human presence, including resting places and artifacts that suggest these caves were used for shelter and ritual long before the Great Pyramids were built. Each dive into these silent, dark waters is a journey into a dual archive, a place where the very bones of the earth hold the spiritual and material records of a complex worldview. This exploration of a civilization connected to sacred waters leads us to a final site that showcases the staggering reach of another empire, one that mastered the sea not for ritual, but for trade and conquest. The same tectonic forces that shattered Port Royal in an instant also worked with a patient hand along the Dalmatian coast. Here, the ancient city of Epidaurus, a Greek colony later absorbed by the Roman Empire, experienced a slower descent. Centuries of seismic activity caused sections of this bustling port to gradually sink into the Adriatic, creating an underwater museum of Roman life. Modern surveys chart a remarkably organized cityscape beneath the waves, with the straight lines of submerged roads still leading to the ghostly outlines of a once busy harbor. This was a place of sophisticated coastal engineering, where the Romans applied their mastery of urban planning to a dramatic shoreline, demonstrating their confidence in taming any environment for their empire. The true treasures of this sunken district are the Roman villas, their floors adorned with intricate mosaics that have been protected from centuries of wear by their watery blanket. These artworks, featuring swirling geometric patterns and vibrant marine life, offer a silent but eloquent testimony to the aesthetic tastes of the city's prosperous inhabitants. They chose to decorate their homes with images of the very sea that would one day claim them, a poignant connection between daily life and the powerful forces of nature. The ruins of Epidaurus are more than just a single city. They are a physical bridge between historical eras. The site encapsulates the entire narrative of classical dominance in the region, from its origins as a Greek outpost to its peak as a well-connected node in the vast Roman trade network. Its submerged streets whisper of the economic and cultural currents that once flowed freely across the Mediterranean, linking distant provinces into a single, interconnected world. This layering of Greek and Roman history on the seafloor makes you wonder what other hybrid civilizations are resting just offshore, their combined legacies waiting to be read in the stones and mosaics. Our journey now turns to a site that predates empires altogether, a place where the very origins of human civilization are being rewritten by a discovery beneath the waves. The Gulf of Cambay presents a mystery so profound it challenges the established timeline of civilization itself. During a routine marine survey in the early 2000s, sonar equipment began painting a startling picture of the seafloor. The scans revealed what appeared to be the grid of a vast planned settlement, with large geometric structures and the clear outlines of a complex urban layout resting deep under the water. Initial analysis of recovered wood fragments suggested an astonishing age, potentially placing this city at around 9,500 years old. If accurate, this would mean a sophisticated urban center flourished here at the very end of the last ice age, long before the great civilizations of Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley were thought to have emerged. The implications are staggering, suggesting a forgotten chapter of human history was swallowed by the sea as glaciers melted and ocean levels climbed. Yet this extraordinary claim has been met with equally rigorous skepticism from the wider scientific community. Critics have pointed to potential contamination of the dating samples by ancient marine organisms and argue that the seemingly perfect formations could be the result of natural geological processes, perhaps the remnants of a long-drowned river channel that carved a deceptively architectural pattern. This intense debate is not a failure of science, but rather a demonstration of its core strength. It highlights the essential, painstaking process of peer review and the high standard of evidence required to rewrite our shared past. The site remains a powerful frontier of exploration, a tantalizing promise that pushes archaeologists to develop ever more precise technologies for investigating these deep water mysteries. The true lesson of the Gulf of Cambay may not be about a single lost city, but about the careful, collaborative journey of discovery itself, a reminder that the most revolutionary finds are those that withstand the most intense scrutiny. The St. Lawrence River holds a different kind of secret, a modern memory of loss etched into its riverbed. During the 1950s, the drive for economic progress and improved navigation led to the construction of the massive St. Lawrence Seaway, a project that required the intentional flooding of a vast area. In a deliberate act of engineering, entire communities in Ontario were evacuated and submerged, creating the poignant collection now known as the Lost Villages. Streets, house foundations, and even sections of railway lines now rest in the quiet underwater world, forming a uniquely modern archaeological site. Unlike the ancient ruins we have explored, these locations are not shrouded in the mists of time. They are accompanied by detailed historical records, photographs, and the living memories of former residents and their descendants. This creates an unparalleled opportunity for archaeologists who can hold a photograph of a general store from 1940 and then dive down to touch its actual foundation. Divers can follow the gravel paths of old roads, trace the outlines of stone foundations that once held family homes, and visit the resting places of community cemeteries, where headstones were carefully relocated but the sense of place remains powerfully intact. The story of the lost villages is not one of a sudden natural disaster, but of a calculated trade-off. A way of life built around the river for generations was sacrificed for the promise of regional prosperity and a new maritime highway. This raises profound questions about the price of progress and what we choose to preserve when moving forward. These submerged towns connect our recent past to the ancient patterns of this journey, demonstrating that the forces claiming human settlements are not always geological. Sometimes the most powerful force is our own ambition, and the ruins we create are the ones we consciously choose to leave behind. Across these 20 sunken worlds, a single truth surfaces. Our history is written on coastlines, a story of innovation and vulnerability shaped by the restless sea. The forces that claimed them were as varied as the cultures themselves, from the slow, patient hunger of rising oceans after the last ice age that swallowed villages like Atlit to the violent, earth-shattering tremors that sent Port Royal and Cleopatra's capital into the deep. This is not a series of isolated tragedies, but a global pattern, a universal thread woven through the entire human story. Our ancestors were drawn to the water for sustenance, for trade, for connection, building their greatest achievements on the very edge of stability. That same proximity placed them directly in the path of geological and climatic forces far beyond their control. Today, this ancient narrative carries a profound and urgent warning. With modern climate change accelerating, sea level rise and coastal development expanding at an unprecedented pace, we are actively creating the submerged ruins of the future. The silent streets of Dunwich and the resilient spirit of Atlit are not just relics, they are lessons. They teach us about societal resilience, the necessity of adaptation, and the enduring human spirit when faced with environmental transformation. By understanding precisely why these cities sank, we gain the critical insight needed to predict and hopefully mitigate the fate of our own coastal communities. These submerged chapters of our past are no longer just mysteries for historians. They are essential guideposts, directly linking the deep past to the choices we make today for our collective tomorrow. From the legendary halls of Cleopatra's palace to the mysterious stones of Yonaguni, these 20 submerged ruins have opened windows into chapters of human history we never knew existed. They remind us that the map of the past is not fixed, but is constantly being redrawn by the forces of nature and time. Each site, whether lost to earthquake, flood, or rising seas, carries a story of human achievement, cultural complexity, and ultimately fragility. As we face a world of rising ocean levels, these underwater cities are more than just archaeological curiosities. They are profound lessons from our ancestors. They urge us to look beneath the surface, to question established histories, and to appreciate the incredible resilience and adaptability that define the human journey. Thank you for diving into these forgotten chapters with us. If this journey through time has captivated you, please subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest mysteries, and share your thoughts on which submerged ruin fascinates you most in the comments below.